Welcome back to Just My Opinion with Kyle Bowles. Olympic team, we talked about him last time, but the one guy that just never stays out of the news. Some love him, some hate him. LeBron. So there's a lot of arguments right now, I keep seeing online, who's better? And, for every 5 Jordans, there's one LeBron. And, we're all at my age, and it's funny, even kids who never saw Michael Jordan play will tell you Jordan is the better player. Me personally, I definitely saw, and I'm not a dude who watches the playoffs like a lot of guys. I don't watch the playoffs because they don't play any defense. Or I don't like that game. I don't like the way they play the game. Whatever. I watch as much NBA as possible because they're the best athletes in the world, which is also just my opinion. They do things every night you never see in your life in any other sport. But back to the topic. LeBron. So people who've never even watched the NBA game will tell you they hate LeBron or they hate the way he plays or Michael's better than him. Again, these are people who do not watch the game. If you watch the game every night, like I do, watch all the different teams every night, like I do, you see how amazing and what this guy is doing at 39. I was at I told this story yesterday about my shoot job. I was at Michael Jordan's last great game. It's the only time I ever saw Michael Jordan play live. He was on the Wizards. I was a big Kings fan. The Kings had Vlade Divac, they had Chris Webber, Jason Williams, Stojakovic, and they were a good team. They were like a top 3 team in the West Coast. And they were coming to Washington to play the Wizards and Michael Jordan. And I had a restaurant at the time, and a guy hooked me up with the Miller Lite booth. So we had the booth for Michael Jordan versus the Kings, Michael Jordan and the Wizards. Last game before the All-Star break. Jordan had made the East All-Stars, having a good season to be honest. And Wizards were I think 7 seed at that time for the playoffs. Jordan at the end of the first half, which he had like 20 points or so, did something to his knee, tweaked it. You could see it, visibly see him limping a little bit. Third quarter comes, he's out there. He plays his ass off. He has about 40 points, something. It's like 38 or 40 points. And the Wizards win. They beat the Kings last game before the All-Star break. And they're heading. They're like, Michael Jordan has done minor surgery. That minor surgery turned out to be 4 or 5 weeks, and by the time they got back, the Wizards had fallen completely out of the playoff push. So it just shows you Michael Jordan, who may not athletically be the same guy. A lot of guys like to, say how much LeBron can do athletically at his age, and I marvel at it. But Michael Jordan, who was not as athletic as LeBron as he aged, could still figure out a way to beat you. Like the guy had the post-up game that he didn't have when he was young, his younger days. There were times he tried to dunk as a Wizard. Many of them were fine, but there were times when he went to dunk and he didn't dunk because he just hit the front of the rim. So he was not as athletically gifted later in his life as LeBron, but Michael had a way to adapt his game where he could still throw 40 or 50 points on you in a night if he felt like it. Kind of like Larry Bird. I saw a story of Larry Bird the other day where they said in Brazil, when they were playing them in the Olympics or pregame or I think exhibition, one of the guys, Larry wasn't going to play because of his back, and one of the Brazil guys was like all game long coming up to the bench going, Larry, please come in. You're my idol. Please come in. And he goes, if I come in, I'm going to score on you right away. And the guy's like, okay. And he said, all right, I'm coming in. I'm going to shoot a jumper on you. And he said, like in the right, corner or something. First play, pulls up on the guy. The guy's defending him as hard as he can. Of course, Bird splashes one right in his face. He said the guy gave him 5. Like he was so excited to have Larry Bird, scoring on him. So these guys, as they age, all age differently. Larry Bird couldn't do, if you said athletically versus Michael Jordan, you'd say, oh my gosh, Michael at his later years was way more athletic than Larry Bird, but not even close to as athletic as LeBron. And LeBron's older than Michael, at the end. And it's really hard to compare who the better player is. Do you do it by championships? Because if that's the case, you throw Bill Russell in there. So you can't, like people, he's got 6 rings. Well, he's got 9. So does that make him the best player? LeBron's got a bunch too. Oh, LeBron's a team jumper. Man, he jumped back to a Cavaliers team from the Heat that had won like 25 games and took them to the championship. And then when he left them, they won like 20 games. One player left out of their starting five. They went from an NBA championship to like winning 20 games. I'm going to say this. LeBron James is every bit as good as Michael Jordan. I'm going to call him 1 and 1A. I don't think either one is better than the other. I think they're both amazing. I think they both brought a lot to the game, and I think both of them are unequaled in what they do. My opinion is this. LeBron James is every bit as good as Michael Jordan, and you can tell me differently, but that's just my opinion. And finally, let's talk a little WNBA. The Caitlin Clark hysteria continues. 2-0 after the All-Star breaks, putting up big numbers, big assist numbers. I saw a thing the other day, who's the best rookie ever, and she has more points, assists, and rebounds than pretty much every rookie they listed, the rookie year numbers they posted. And I think you can feel around the WNBA, people are getting a little jealous, and it's easy to say, oh my God, the cameras just follow her everywhere. It's all about Caitlin Clark. Look at me, I was here, I'm getting 20 rebounds a game. It's not her fault that the American people have fallen in love with her as a player because she can ball. You know, it was like the Skeens guy for the Pirates pitching. People want to see him because he's unique and different. Caitlin Clark can straight ball, man. Like, when Ralph Sampson came out. What's he going to do in the NBA? People were really excited. He didn't deliver, I don't think, the way Caitlin Clark did year one. He was Rookie of the Year. Caitlin Clark's got people watching these games and never watched basketball. I was watching the Las Vegas Aces last night. I've never watched WNBA for this year, more than a few minutes at a time. I watched pretty much the whole game. Kelsey Plum, I'm a Kelsey Plum fan. She played terrible last night. Her defense was awful. But they got their butts kicked. But here's somebody who loves sports and can talk to you about pretty much any sport you want to talk about. And I've played a ton. But man, I had no time for the WNBA. And that's not for any reason other than it just didn't appeal to me. It appeals to me now. Like, I like watching it. So Skylar Diggins decided that she would, Caitlin was hyping the crowd up and walking during a timeout. And you can see intentionally Skylar Diggins, A, picking up the pace of her walk as she headed to the bench, and B, kind of veering left to make sure she made contact as she kind of walked fast with Caitlin. More of a kind of, don't be doing that crap in my building kind of thing. But it was not her building because the people were there to see Caitlin. Wherever Caitlin goes, I don't care. It's a home game for her. Whether it's away or home, right now, every game's a home game for Caitlin. People that go to Washington Mystics games, they probably draw 4,000 a night. That's just me speculating, something like that. If Caitlin Clark comes, they're going to have 19,000 playing a different arena. So that means if 4,000 or 5,000 of those people are Mystic fans, and there's 19,000 there, let's say out of the new 14 that's showing up just because of Caitlin Clark, how many of those 14,000 fans are there to see the Mystics? And how many of those 14,000 fans are there to see Caitlin Clark? I'm going to bet on the latter and not the former being the reason they're there. So Skylar Diggins, be thankful. You're an older player now. You're still very good. But now people are going to see you too. People who never saw you before. People like me. People who didn't watch WNBA games. If I cut it on and saw Diana Taurasi or something, Sue Bird, I might watch for a minute or two just because I wanted to see how they played, because I'd heard so much about them. I'd seen them in the Olympics. But other than that, I never watched the whole game. So Skylar Diggins, this is good for you too. You're gonna have more chances to get endorsements. Maybe you have a big night during a televised game against the Fever or something like that. It gets a bunch of eyes on you. Maybe you get a bigger contract out of it because there's more revenue. So everyone should be embracing this. If she was a turd or an asshole or, a braggart or any of those things, I get it. She's not. She's just a damn good basketball player. And Skylar Diggins, savor this, man. Your time in the NBA, you're still playing lots of minutes. You probably got a few years left, good years left. Enjoy it. Let people see you play that never saw you play before. The WNBA is a much better place for not just the fans, but the players and everybody associated with it because of Caitlin Clark. And that's just my opinion. We'll see you next show. We appreciate you coming aboard again. Give us a like, subscribe, feedback, and remember, everything I say, it's just my opinion. Thank you.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got